Namaste. Jai Hind viewers. Welcome to the fourth episode of Elections Simplified. In the third episode, we saw how there could be four categories of contests in 2014. First, BJP versus Congress. Second, Congress versus regional parties. Third, BJP versus regional parties. And fourth, regional parties versus regional parties. If you've anyhow missed the show, please watch it. The link is in the description of this video. Now, we also saw that the impact of the alliances, the NDA and the India bloc, is going to be minimal in the BJP versus Congress contest. In all other categories, the BJP versus regional parties, INC versus regional parties and regional parties versus regional parties, the role of alliances kick in and they could emerge as kingmakers. In this episode, friends, we will discuss about the much debated one nation, one elections or simultaneous elections. Now, the BJP has formed a panel under the leadership of Ramnath Govind to explore the possibility of one nation, one election by clubbing all the Vidhan and the Lok Sabha elections together. Now, the ruling party has been arguing that this would reduce costs, time and energy, while the opposition says that this is an attempt by the BJP to nationalize the state elections and hence emerge as the beneficiary. The opposition is afraid that the BJP, riding on the back of its pole position in national politics, stands to gain from one nation, one election, thus displacing the regional parties. Now, leave the political parties and politicians. The biggest advantage for me as a person is that, do you know how many hours does the Prime Minister, the Chief Minister and the Cabinet Minister spend on campaigning? A number of days and a number of hours. And this is wastage of our nation's time, our resources. We are full time in election mode. If one nation, one poll happens, then the Prime Minister, Chief Minister, Cabinet Ministers would not spend hours on campaigning and this could be used for productive purposes. Now, let's talk about the process of simultaneous election. If the Vidhan and the Lok Sabha elections are held together, as a voter, you would need to cast two votes, one to elect an MLA and the other to elect an MP. Now what happens? Currently, we all as voters visit a booth and in the polling room, there is one EVM machine in which we press the button in favor of the choice of the candidate. In case of a one nation, one election or a simultaneous election, the booth is going to be the same. If there are two booths, it will impact turnout. So the booth will be the same and in the same polling room, you will now have two EVMs. One for the election of MLA and the other for the election of MP. You would have to press two buttons, one in the EVM of the Vidhan Sabha to elect the MLA and the other in the EVM to elect the MP. Now, there is no consistent pattern of which EVM will be placed first. I talked to a lot of voters where simultaneous elections already take place in states like Andhra and Odisha, and there seems to be a mixed response. In some booths, the Lok Sabha EVM is placed first and then the Vidhan Sabha and vice versa. And this is very important. Now, let's talk about simultaneous elections or one nation, one election. Friends, it already happened in 5 states in 2014. Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Sikkim and Arunachal. And then again, all of them, in all these states it happened in 2019 also, barring Telangana. What happens in these simultaneous elections? In all these elections, the regional parties which got the maximum number of seats in Vidhan Sabha or won the Vidhan Sabha elections went on to win the Lok Sabha elections as well, except for Arunachal Pradesh, where BJP won the state election as well as the Lok Sabha election. So, in these simultaneous polls, the Jagan Reddy's YSRCP won 86% of seats in Vidhan Sabha and 88% in Lok Sabha as shown in the graph below. The TRS, now BRS, won 53% of seats in Vidhan Sabha and 65% in Lok Sabha in 2014 simultaneous elections. Naveen Patnaik's Biju Janata Dal won 80% of seats in Vidhan Sabha and 57% in Lok Sabha in 2019. The Sikkim Kranti Morcha won 53% of seats in Vidhan Sabha and 100% in Lok Sabha in 2019, and the BJP won 68% of seats in Vidhan Sabha in Arunachal and both the seats in Lok Sabha in 2019. So, in terms of vote share, we see identical vote share for top three parties in these states. The vote share in the Lok Sabha is within the -2.5% to +2.5% range. So minus 2.5% to plus 2.5% range for all states, Andhra, Telangana and Odisha. The YSRCP, the Janasena and the TDP in Andhra Pradesh, the BJP and the Congress in Odisha, the BRS, the BJP TDP alliance and Congress in Telangana, all of them recorded almost identical or similar vote share in both the Vidhan Sabha and Lok Sabha elections as shown in the graph. There's only one exception, the BJP in Odisha. It performed better in the Lok Sabha by 6%, gaining largely from the Congress and the others. A similar trend is also visible in Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh, with BJP getting a slight boost in general elections in 2019. Now, let's see in this graph the absolute number of votes which are polled by these parties. These also show a similar trend. The YSRCP, TDP and the Janasena got almost identical number of votes in both the Vidhan and the Lok Sabha in Andhra Pradesh. The TRS, the BJP TDP alliance in Telangana and the BJD and Congress in Odisha have got identical votes. Only BJP got a higher number of votes in Arunachal, Odisha and Sikkim in Lok Sabha due to the character of national polls. In fact, friends, in Andhra Pradesh, simultaneous polls have been happening since 1999. And what's the trend? Whichever party wins the state election goes on to win the Lok Sabha elections. When I say win the Lok Sabha elections, win the highest number of seats in the Lok Sabha elections from that state. Now, the TDP won both the elections in 1999, the Congress in 2004 and 2009, the TDP again in 2014 and Jagan Reddy's YSRCP in 2019. Similarly, in Karnataka, simultaneous elections took place in 1999 and 2004. In 1999, the Congress won the state elections in Karnataka and went on to win 18 out of 28 seats in the Lok Sabha. In 2004, the BJP emerged as the single largest party in the Vidhan Sabha in Karnataka and also won the highest 18 out of 28 seats in Lok Sabha. Whereas in 2004, in the Lok Sabha elections, as you recall, the UPA emerged as the winner, whereas in 1999, the NDA emerged as the winner. So the trend holds, friends. Whichever party wins or does well in the Vidhan Sabha election in simultaneous polls also tends to do well in the Lok Sabha elections when they are held together. So friends, now let's talk about the concept of split voting. So what is split voting? Split voting is the tendency of the voters to vote differently in Vidhan and Lok Sabha elections, as both the elections are fought on different issues. This is visible in many states in India when elections are held separately. For example, people voted for the BJP in Delhi in Lok Sabha elections 2019, but the AAP in Vidhan Sabha elections 2020. People voted for the Congress in Vidhan Sabha in 3 states, Rajasthan, MP, Chhattisgarh, but BJP swept the Lok Sabha elections in 2019. People voted for the Congress in Kerala in 2019 Lok Sabha elections, but the left won in the state elections in 2021. People voted for the NDA in Jharkhand in 2019 Lok Sabha, but UPA in 2019 Vidhan Sabha when the polls were held 6 months later. So these states exhibit a split voting pattern when elections are held at different dates. So now there are also many states which do not exhibit a split voting pattern or which exhibit a similar pattern. Voters backed the NDA in UP, Bihar, Gujarat, Uttarakhand and Maharashtra in both the state and the national elections. Similarly, DMK in Tamil Nadu, TMC in West Bengal and the TRS or BRS in Telangana won the state elections and the highest number of seats in the Lok Sabha elections when they were held separately. So what does this mean? Voters consider Vidhan and Lok Sabha elections as different, and the fact that they are held separately helps them treat these polls differently. However, what happens in states when simultaneous polls take place? As we've observed, there is no marked split voting visible in simultaneous poll states like Andhra, Sikkim, Arunachal and Telangana, as we've seen above. It's only visible to some extent in Odisha, and that also in urban areas. Of the 8 seats which BJP won, 6 were from urban areas having a municipal corporation or a municipality. So now let's talk about the history of simultaneous elections or one nation, one election. One nation, one election used to take place for state and Lok Sabha elections from 1952 to 1967. The Congress party ruled at the center and in most of the states except for an intermittent periods in Kerala and Odisha in 15 years from 1952 to 1967. The Congress party, as we've seen in earlier episodes, won more than 350 seats in all the Lok Sabha elections in 52, 57 and 62. So how did this happen? While the Congress had stalwart leaders like Nehru and Sardar Patel at the national level, it also had very strong leadership in the states, and of course there was less competition initially. It had leaders like Morarji Desai in Bombay, Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy in Andhra Pradesh, Bidhan Chandra Roy in Bengal, Govind Ballabh Pant in UP, K. Kamaraj in Madras, Yashwant Rao Chauhan in Maharashtra, and Krishna Singh in Bihar. These leaders helped the Congress party to win maximum seats in the state elections and also maximum MPs from their respective states in national elections. As we know, friends, the national election result overall is an aggregation of the results of various states held during the Lok Sabha polls. In 1952 elections, as you can see broadly in the graph which is on the screen, the percentage of seats won by the Congress in Vidhan Sabha and Lok Sabha in the top 5 states was almost identical or similar. The Congress won 72% to 82% of seats in Bihar in Vidhan and Lok Sabha, 90 to 94% in UP, 85 to 89% in Maharashtra, 61 to 63% in West Bengal, and 41 to 47% in Madras. This trend was repeated in 1957 and 1962 simultaneous election when Congress won the bulk of the seats in the top 5 states in Vidhan Sabha as well as Lok Sabha when they were held together. Now we come to the 1967 elections, which is a watershed moment in Indian politics. It marked the end of an era of Indian politics, the era of unchallenged supremacy of the Congress party. The party could not secure a simple majority in 8 of the 16 states where non-Congress governments were installed after these elections. For the first time in Lok Sabha, the Congress could not get 350 plus seats, and its tally actually fell below 300 to 283. So how did this happen? Competition emerged, regional parties and breakaway groups of the Congress party dented the party's chances in many states, which was also reflected in the Lok Sabha elections. In the states Congress lost power, it lost seats in the Lok Sabha too, bringing down its tally to 283 as shown in the graph on the screen. The Congress lost seats in Bihar, Madras, UP, Odisha, Punjab, Kerala and West Bengal in both the state as well as the national elections. So the state results had a bearing on the national elections, which pulled down Congress's tally from 350 plus to 283 and sowed the seeds of Congress's final loss in 1977 elections after the emergency. So now, the most important question: who benefits from one nation, one election? The 1967 results and the 2014 and 19 results of limited simultaneous polls in 4-5 states, plus simultaneous poll results in Andhra and Karnataka, show that the party which is stronger in states tends to get a benefit in the Lok Sabha elections as well, because split voting pattern is not the norm. If any, split voting is observed mostly in urban areas. Split voting is possible or evident if elections are held at different points of time, voters clearly making a distinction between a state and a national election, like the BJP sweeping Delhi in 2019 general elections and later the Aam Aadmi Party sweeping the state elections in 2020. However, when the Vidhan and the Lok Sabha elections are held together, this distinction gets blurred to a large extent. But it doesn't mean that the national parties will gain or the Congress or the BJP will gain. Whichever party is strong in states tends to benefit in a simultaneous poll or a one nation, one election, as historical data shows. So, friends, the BJP may not necessarily benefit from one nation, one election as is being propagated. The strong regional parties stand to gain as the historical data shows. In fact, regional parties may get extra seats than they deserve in Lok Sabha because of simultaneous polls. When people are voting for the BJD or the YSRCP, they know that these parties are not going to form the government. So why are they not voting for a national party like a Congress or BJP in these states? Because the Congress and the BJP is weaker in these states. They do not have a strong organization, and that is what translates into a national election result also when they are held together. Whichever party is strong in state and wins the state elections is likely to benefit from a simultaneous poll. This is contrary to popular perception. Now, the big question is, what would happen in states like Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, where the contest is largely bipolar with both the BJP and the Congress enjoying almost equal support or vote share? This is a very difficult question to answer. Going by the trend, I would say that the Congress here could get some seats in Lok Sabha elections as well because of their strength in the Vidhan Sabha or in the state, and not allow BJP to sweep the elections as has been the normal trend if simultaneous elections are held. Now, of course, we need to observe the bigger trends and see the fact whether these trends hold good in simultaneous elections if they are held in 2024 in these 5 states or any other state. And a very important consideration in this entire puzzle is which EVM is placed first for voting. The Vidhan Sabha election EVM to elect your MLA or the Lok Sabha election EVM to elect your MP. Majority of the voters are pressing the button for the same party in both the EVMs as we've seen, and this could be a game changer. Thank you friends for watching the show. Do share your feedback and comments. Thank you. Namaskar.